And showtime! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ChanelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am executive editor of the ChanelPro Network, also a co-host of this program. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by your co-host, Eric Simpson, business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how you doing?
Doing well, Rich. How are you doing, my road warrior friend?
Yes, for those of you who are watching on video, once again, America, welcome to my hotel room. Actually, my second hotel room of the week. I am in San Francisco, just at the RSA conference, which is just wrapping up actually this afternoon.
Yep, and before that?
Before that, thank you for asking, I was at the ChanelPro SMB Forum event in Dallas, Texas, which was wonderful. And as long as we're talking about it, you brought it up, not me. I didn't pay you to do this, but we have more events in the SMB Forum Series coming up this year, folks. We're going to be in Charlotte in August. We're going to be in Washington, D.C. in September, and then Southern California and the greater Los Angeles area in November. And you can learn more about those events at events.chanelpronetwork.com. Check them out.
Check them out. They're always worth the time, energy, and travel to get to these events. Rich, you know, I've participated in many of those events alongside with you, and I always learn something new. The attendees are awesome, and you know the sponsors truly get a lot out of it as well. And in fact, I would hazard a guess as to say that there are more potential attendees looking for great events to go to this year than maybe they have in the last couple of years because of, you know, that which shall remain nameless. COVID.
I'm definitely picking that. I've been attending a lot of events this year, and I really do feel that there's a lot of pent-up interest to get out among people again. So yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to seeing everybody at an upcoming ChanelPro event.
And with that, let's dive into our top story of the week. And, you know, Eric, there is kind of a joke in journalism that if you're not quite sure what to write about, just look for 3 examples of anything and you've got yourself a trend piece. Well, I've got 2 examples of something that happened on consecutive days this week. And there are actually some earlier examples from weeks in the not too distant past. So I'm going to call this a trend. And the trend has to do with IT management companies partnering with cyber insurance companies to streamline the application process and in some cases get applicants better rates. So let's start with the news that was announced on Monday. Augment, a cloud management company, still relatively young right now, announced a deal with a cyber insurance broker named SeedPod. And basically the SeedPod folks negotiated a deal with their underwriters saying that if you can validate that the parties you're insuring check off all the items on these questionnaires that people in our audience are growing very familiar with these days, then you can provide insurance at discounted rates. Now, a lot of the information that SeedPod needs to collect, you know, is there antivirus software? Is it running? Is there backup software? Is that running? A lot of the stuff on the list you can get from a traditional RMM system, but there are certain things that they want to know that most traditional RMM systems don't collect. How many software as a service applications does the business use? Who uses them? For what purposes? Are there MFA policies in place? Are people complying with those? Do alerts go out if somebody falls out of compliance? There are 2 tools from Augment Discover, which inventories all the SaaS applications in an environment, and Augment Secure, which helps with policy setting and enforcement. And basically, SeedPod worked out a deal with Augment. If you are an SMB supported by an MSP who runs Augment Discover and Augment Secure, you can validate to SeedPod that you have these checkbox items in place, and that qualifies you for discounts of up to 40% on insurance. Very next day, ConnectWise, at its IT Nation Secure conference in Orlando this week, announces a deal involving two parties. One is a company called Control Case, and Control Case can kind of automate the questionnaire completion process when you're applying for cyber insurance. And they now have an integration with ConnectWise Manage, the PSA platform, that allows them to import a lot of information in from the PSA into the questionnaire, make it a lot easier to fill that out. And then if you want, you can pass that completed questionnaire onto a cyber insurance broker named Fifth Wall Solutions. And Fifth Wall will take the questionnaire and use it to apply for policies, quotes from up to 35, cyber insurance companies. Now, a few weeks ago, we saw two different deals involving Cowbell Cyber, another cyber insurance broker, one with Trend Micro, another with IGI Cyber Labs, which makes the Nodeware vulnerability management product. So you need three for a trend, Eric. I've got four. And I'm telling you, we're going to see more of these. Just yesterday here at the RSA conference, I met with Eric Skinner, the vice president of market strategy at Trend Micro, and he did a great job of just quickly laying out for me why you are seeing these deals and why you're going to see more of them. There are basically four parties involved in these kinds of things, and they all want this to happen. The end users want it to happen because they're having trouble. It's difficult and painful to apply for insurance. They want lower rates. They want to make sure their claims get paid. MSPs want these deals to happen for the same reasons. The cyber insurers want these deals to happen because they want more than just a questionnaire back from the people applying for insurance. They really want to know that these technologies are being used and being used correctly. And the vendors like it too, because if you are a vendor like Trend Micro, for example, with a risk assessment product, and Trend Micro is actually basing a lot of its product strategy around risk assessment and vulnerability management right now. And this is a great value add for them. In addition to all the core functionality you get with our risk assessment and vulnerability management products, you also get an easier application process for cyber insurance and maybe lower prices. Everybody wins, and therefore these four examples I just cited, Eric, are going to be four of many. You're going to see a lot of this going on, I think, especially in the next 12 months or so.
I think you're absolutely right, Rich. I mean, in fact, I've been having, behind closed door conversations with a bunch of vendors and other folks trying to build these types of services. They see the potential to help reduce the cost of these policies. I mean, in the articles you mentioned up to 40% savings. Now, that's a lot, but when you consider what's been happening year over year, the last couple of years, and maybe forecasting in the future, 50 to 100% increases in premiums for the same old policy because of the lack of ability and visibility of these insurers to really feel they have a strengthened, enhanced, ongoing monitored security posture for these clients. So they're going to insure at a rate that takes care of the lowest common denominator, a business that is not doing anything, and here's your policy, right? So by having these strategic vendors and others come in and say, hey, we're going to help not only assess your clients to identify areas that you can improve to help them not only comply, but monitor and ensure that compliance and reporting over time so that now you can lobby these big carriers and say, hey, we're not like everybody else. We are the the cream, the cherry on top, the cream of the crop of strengthened cybersecurity. So we should receive more conducive or lower premiums. And the insurance, as you said, the insurance companies, they want to write more policies, but they also want to make sure that they're managing their own risk. So the risk in this chain also affects four people, right? It affects the end user, it affects the MSP, it affects the vendor that's putting together these deals, and ultimately affects the carrier. So there's a lot going on here. And I'm pretty surprised that we've had these large announcements and these deals put together by some of the biggest vendors that, MSPs and ChanelPros deal with so quickly. I did not expect it to happen so fast this year. I've been watching and, like I said, speaking with different folks as they've been trying to develop these strategies, but this is something that a lot of folks, as you mentioned, had to come together to agree to. And it now becomes a baseline, right? A playbook for others to follow. And not only do I predict that, we're going to see more of these strategic vendor partners jump into this pool, but I also expect, as you mentioned, one of the carriers is going to, ask for quotes to 35 different, maybe insurers, right? I also expect there to be multiple and multiples of those partnerships as ConnectWise and Trend and everybody else really get some steam behind this, right? So, I mean, what other insurers wouldn't want to be part of that? Hey, you're giving opportunities to my competitors. Can we play too, right?
Well, and in fact, the folks at Augment said that once the word started circulating in the cyber insurance world about the deal that they had arranged, they've already heard from 2 or 3 other companies, competitors of CPOD, who are interested in doing a deal like this as well. So yeah, Augment is open to doing more of these with companies beyond the one they're dealing with now. Same goes for ConnectWise. They told me that we'll see how this goes, but their expectation is they'll probably have more deals coming. You quoted the figure of prices going up 50 to 100% in the next year. That came from CPOD, actually. That might even be conservative. There's a company called Marsh that tracks prices for cyber insurance. And just in the first quarter of this year, prices on cyber insurance are up 110% year over year. So yeah, basically, these insurance companies are taking a crash course in cybersecurity right now. They're learning a lot about it. And the initial sort of manifestation of that is these questionnaires, where now they're trying to make sure best practices are in place. But I think what they're beginning to learn is that it's very easy to check off a box on a questionnaire, and that doesn't necessarily satisfy what they're looking for. I'll give you one quick example, and then we can move on. But it's from a conversation I had with the company at RSA, the RSA conference here today. The questionnaire says, do you have antivirus software in place, endpoint protection? And you check that off because you bet we do. But that might mean, we've got 100 laptops at this company, and 10 of them for the executives have antivirus software on it. Do you know that all 100 devices at the company have? That's the kind of thing you get from an RMM system or from Augment software. That's what the cyber insurance companies really want to see. What's really going on down there? And so there will be more and more of that coming up in the future. And I think it's only good. It's only good for the MSPs and their customers and the insurance companies. It's going to make it easier to deal with this very painful problem that a lot of people are working their way through right now.
Yep, agreed. I mean, more to come, lots more. Mm-hmm.
So you know what, for a cyber insurance company, do I or do I not insure this business here can be a difficult decision. Your tip of the week, Eric, is about a very difficult decision.
Yes, and it's made one of the most difficult decisions because it involves people, Rich. And I've had a lot of conversations lately with different partners that I'm coaching or consulting with. And there are 2 flavors of the people discussions that we're having. One is, all of that, the difficulty in hiring good new staff, good technicians and all that, the cost of doing so, or the cost of replacing those that are being, cherry picked out of their businesses, or deciding they want to do something a little bit different, have a little bit more work-life balance. And because, the MSP or the ChanelPro doesn't really cotton to work from home 100% of the time, they're finding opportunities that let them do more of that. So they're leaving. So that's one conversation I'm having. The other conversation I'm having now is the one that is probably exacerbated by the first conversation, i.e., I'm trying to do everything I can to hold on to my staff, right? So we're having conversations about how to do that. But in some of those conversations, it's evident that the decision maker that's making these hiring decisions is keeping the wrong staff for too long. I'm just going to put it that way, right? Folks that, maybe unconsciously are working against the leadership or the business's own best interests by, being abrasive to clients and other staff, being harsh, having that, I call it, because I'm going to say this because I used to be this kind of person, Rich, believe it or not, that people hating engineer, right? I was, and early in my career, I was accused of being the sales prevention unit, that kind of stuff, right? Where you're just like, it's got to be this way, one way, no other way, and just being difficult and that creating mental fatigue for the folks that are trying to manage this person, that creating poor morale for other folks in the organization, that kind of thing. So, the tip of the week here is, what? Try to hang on to your staff, but hang on to the right staff and, seek to find those that align with your vision, mission, and purpose and are part of the team. And you know what? I'm not putting it all on the staff, right? Sometimes it's us, the folks that are leading that need to look at what we're doing that may have created this or allowed it to go on so long. Are we taking opportunities to coach and mentor and lead these folks and having constructive meetings with them, not waiting for the end of the year review to give them, a boilerplate kind of review and less than high marks because of some of these soft skill, people skill things. Let's work with our team more often throughout the year. I like having more often, calling them, performance reviews, but really coaching and leadership sessions so that, we don't get to the end of the year and by then it's too late for them to change, but let's guide and coach them along the way. And if we're doing that, we've got a great chance, Rich, of getting those folks that, that really may not be even tracking this, right? Because I was one of those people, I wasn't aware of that. That's just, and bringing that awareness up and then giving them an opportunity to adjust and adapt to that. And it also allows you during those more often coaching and leadership or coaching and mentorship type meetings to identify earlier on maybe some folks that, may not fit over the long haul, and you can make different decisions earlier. And when we do that, guess what? We're probably doing not only ourselves, our organization, our clients, and our staffs a favor, but we're also doing that individual a favor as well, because maybe they're not happy where they are. And now by allowing them the opportunity to go find another home, they could find that place where they feel they fit in better.
It's so difficult because you were talking about coaching and working with the staff, and that is obviously very, very important and important for all your employees, not just the ones who are problem employees for one reason or another. But there's always that nagging question of how soon is too soon to bail out on this person? How do you know you've tried? This just isn't going to work out because, like you said, it's a very difficult time to find new employees right now. So, you're going to be creating a problem for yourself if you open that position up. But on the other hand, if you also know this person isn't going to work out, the sooner you acknowledge that and deal with it, the better. The how soon is too soon issue, I think, is a difficult one.
It is. And I think it's it's a maturity question, right? So, I used to be, of the mindset that, 3 strikes and you're out kind of a thing. And, if you can't fit in with the program, then we've got to find someone who can. Well, after doing lots and lots of personal growth and training and things like that, and getting into behavioral profiling and being certified in that, I started to understand that, wait a minute, before we start, casting stones, let's look at the things that we may not be aware of that we're doing incorrectly that we could improve. And then as a result of that, transform not just one individual, but the staff, right? So I really kind of turned the corner in the last 10 years or so by really focusing more on the people equation of business transformation. Obviously processes and platforms and product and services, those things are typically a lot simpler to address because it's a known quantity, right? If we don't have any processes, hey, we can get processes, we can work on those processes and bake them. If we don't have the right platforms, we can get those platforms. If we need to configure our platforms, we can get the platforms configured. If our products and services aren't right, we can rebundle and reprice or maybe add to our solutions. And those things, take a pretty standardized step-by-step process to get those things done. But when we're talking about people, it's a whole different ballgame, because now we're talking about human beings and behaviors and motivators and emotions and things like that. And the best leaders that I've ever worked with have understood that, it's probably wrong. It's incorrect to make someone else wrong for doing something differently than you would do it. And I used to be that person too, right? I'm like, well, why did you do it that way? I told you to do it this way. And how can I or anyone on the planet, Rich, expect anyone to do anything the way you or I would do it? They don't have our background, our experience, our motivators, our influences, our training, right? We're not Siamese twins. So if they choose to do something different, instead of calling them out, the better approach is to ask more questions. Hey, share with me why you decided to do it that way. And then ask more leading questions. Well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? And then having that more open discussion framework sometimes elicits things that you weren't even aware of. Oh, I get it now, because this, that, or the other thing. That's why you went that way. I understand now. So it's not more of a, do it my way or the highway. It's more of, hey, is there a better way for us to do things together? And are you doing things differently that I'm not aware of, or that we should be doing differently? Because a lot of this stems from, in my experience, Rich, a lack of process, a lack of expectation, a lack of performance measurement and accountability, right? All these things. In the absence of process, I believe human beings do what they think is best. I don't think they do something, negative because there's a lack of process. I think they just do what they think is best with the information or the experience that they have at hand. So then it's an opportunity for us, leadership, to really understand why they did that and say, okay, so the root cause was, well, we didn't have an established process, right? So they did it that way. Shame on us. So that makes us want to go ahead and establish process, make sure everybody understands the process, execute on it. And now when everybody's doing the same thing, supposedly following the same processes, it makes it so much easier to measure performance and reward success objectively and remove the emotion out of the equation.
Bottom line, folks, if you have a problem employee, the time to deal with that problem is now, whether that's through coaching or inviting them to seek employment elsewhere. There is no time like the present to address that employee who poses a problem for your company. Now, that leaves us with time for just one more story this week. It comes to us from Norway, where there was a little bit of a COVID baby boom, Eric. In 2021, there were 56,060 babies born in Norway. That's 3,081 more than the year before. And that means there are a lot of parents still looking for names for babies. In steps furniture retailer Ikea, very helpfully, to assist with this problem, because if there's one thing they know at Ikea, it's names, right? They have hundreds of products, each with a distinctive Scandinavian name of one kind or another. And so Ikea Norway has created a baby name bank with 800 names derived from their furniture products, helpfully available for you online if you are looking to name your child after a piece of furniture, say. So just as a for example, Eric, Hauga is the name of a bed that Ikea sells. It could also make a wonderful name for a girl. Millsbro is the name of a glass cabinet. Could be the name of a boy. Millsbro Simpson has a nice ring to it, I would say. So yeah, thank you, Ikea, for making those names available for people looking to name a baby.
Yeah, especially if you're of Scandinavian descent, because it's all, like you said, derived from there. I'm on their website right now, and I'm just looking at bookshelves, right? Because I bought a bookshelf from IKEA not too long ago, and it was a Kallax bookshelf. But I see Flista, I see Moslanda, I see Ivar, right? If you guys are into watching the Vikings, the History Channel Vikings series, I'm just finishing the last season now. There's Ivar the Boneless, right? Son of Ragnar Lothbrok. So really interesting. I'd love to. I wonder where that name registry is published. It'd be kind of fun to scroll through it and see what's in there.
Well, I'm going to jot down Flista Freeman in case I ever need a name, but because that one might work. But folks, that is all the time we have this week for you on the 5-Minute Roundup. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back again next week with another episode. You know, we are both a video and a podcast these days. If you're watching the video, but you like podcasts, well, just go out to wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple or Google or Stitcher or Spotify. You're going to find us there. Please go ahead, subscribe, rate, review. It's going to make it easier for folks out there just like you to find the show and enjoy it as well. If you are listening to the podcast, but you want to check it out on video, easiest thing to do is go to YouTube, look for the ChanelPro Network channel there. Another opportunity to subscribe, and if you click the little bell icon there, you'll even get notified when the new episodes go up. If you want to read about the cyber insurance deals involving Augment and ConnectWise, catch up on the news in the industry, get great business growth advice for your company, visit ChanelProNetwork.com every day because we have got awesome new content going up for you there every day. If you want to learn more about Eric and the work he does with his clients, your destination should be ErickSimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. Once again, we thank you very much for joining us. We're going to see you again next week. Until then, please, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.